Hey everyone, welcome back. Have you ever noticed something strange about social events? Sometimes the lead up feels far more intense than the event itself, and you might feel anxious for days, running through scenarios, imagining conversations, predicting how people might react. And I know that I do this. But when the moment actually arrives, you're totally fine. You handle it easily. So, what's going on there? Why does your mind sometimes create more pressure before the event than during the event? So, I have talked about this before, but I'll talk about it again. It's called multi-branch thinking. Certain minds, like mine, naturally run simulations of possible futures. And so during this phase, the brain is wired to constantly run predictive models. Before a meeting, a gathering, before a difficult conversation, my mind, and maybe yours, starts building branches of possibility. Branch 1, what if the person reacts badly? Branch 2, what if someone says something strange? Branch 3, what if a group dynamic shifts? Branch 4, what if I need to defend myself or my position? And suddenly your brain is exploring 10 different futures all at once. It's not irrational. It's actually a pattern prediction system doing exactly what it was evolved to do. The brain is trying to anticipate the landscape before you step into it. But here's the catch. When you're in the lead up phase, you're running these simulations without any real data. You're predicting human behavior in a vacuum. And that's when the system can become exhausting. So this is like a human radar, right? And some people, including myself, have what I call high resolution social radar. They notice inconsistencies in tone, micro expressions, shifts in group alliances, when someone is performing rather than speaking honestly. And this kind of perception often develops early in life. It did for me. And sometimes because the environment required it. For me, it was because my mother had borderline personality disorder. So I had to be very skilled at reading patterns so that I knew when things were going to shift. And it's honestly a superpower. The benefit is that I, or you maybe, can walk into a room and quickly understand the social structure. The downside is that before you walk into that room, your brain is trying to map the entire system in advance. And that leads to anticipatory tension or anxiety. So here's the interesting part though. Once the event begins, those simulations stop and your brain has real signal, real voices, real body language, real conversations, and your mind can switch from prediction mode to observation mode. For people with strong pattern reading ability, observation mode is much easier because you're no longer imagining what might happen, you're just reading what's happening. And that's when many people suddenly relax, including me. So many people interpret this lead up anxiety as the sign that something is wrong or something is wrong with you, but it really means your brain is running a very powerful predictive system. It's exploring possibilities. It's not predicting certainty, but once the real data arrives, the system recalibrates almost instantly, which is why you can feel terrible the night before something and completely fine once you're actually there. So instead of treating this as a weakness, I like to think of it as a superpower. It might be really, truly more accurate to see it as a high bandwidth cognitive process. Your mind is capable of holding multiple possible outcomes simultaneously. And that is super useful in a lot of things: investigative work, strategy, analysis, understanding complex social systems. But you have to remember that it can create fiction, fiction and friction during the lead up phase where there's no real data yet. So the key realization is simple. The simulation phase is not an event, it's just your mind preparing for possibilities. So if you ever notice that anticipation feels worse than the moment itself, you're not fragile. It means your brain is good at multi-branch thinking. And once reality shows up, the brain collapses into one path and your system settles down. So don't feel broken, feel the superpower. And if you just remind yourself in that anticipatory lead up that my brain is just doing this thing, it's easier to dampen that anxiety.